Hello, you guys. Welcome back to I Didn't Ask for a Yappuccino. If this is your first time visiting my channel and watching this video, my name is Yash, and I practically post whatever I want on my channel. And lately, the videos I've been posting are in regard to my dog. Just to summarize, the content that I'm pushing out lately, and probably for a while, is going to be dedicated to pushing my dog's story out there. I'll put his diagnosis on the screen. It's degenerative mitral regurgitation and then tricuspid heart disease. Basically, his left valve and his right valve, which is the triscus, if I'm saying that correctly, is dealing with some issues when it comes to having the blood flow throughout the body properly, and it has been causing for his valves in his heart to leak blood out of his body, which is congestive heart failure. And we had visited the cardiologist. They broke everything down for us. Let me just check if my mic is on. Yes, sorry for being unprofessional. We visited a cardiologist. They've recommended a cocktail of medication, but it is very expensive. And we're just trying to see how he's going to be reacting to medication for however long, and we will visit them again, and they will tell us, how long he has left. But as an estimate, with his condition, we have around 6 to 12 months, but that is if we continuously give him medication to essentially fuel him. And this medication is very expensive. The most expensive medication out of all of our stuff is called vetmidine. I'll show you guys right here. 1 second. It's this one, vetmidine. It's actually called Pimobendan. This one. This medication costs around like $150, and there's only 50 tablets, and he has to have 1.5, 3 times a day. So in total, that would be around 4.5 tablets a day. So 4.5 out of 50. That's, I can't do the quick math right now, but it's probably going to last us 2-ish to 1 week, and that's $150 every 2-ish to 1 week. This month actually. At the start of this month, middle of this month, we just bought some more medication. We had to buy around 2 containers of it so far, and it's only been a month. So yeah, it's very expensive, and my family is trying to gather as much money as we can, but we would greatly benefit if you guys would take a look at our GoFundMe fundraiser, which will be linked in the description down below. Take a look at it, read the information there. There's various updates, and the description is up to date as well. It's very informative of what my dog's condition is, what my family's situation is, and how we're trying to go about helping him. If you guys heard him sigh, he's in the kitchen with me right now again, sleeping. Today he's been a little restless, very energetic and perky. I don't know why. He was kind of shaking his head a lot. I think maybe he was sniffing around in the bushes a little too much. When I go with him on like a morning walk, and he drags me literally everywhere, and I think maybe something went into his ear. That's why he was like a little bit shaky, but he hasn't been shaking much. So I think I got whatever was in his ear out. My bad. I just felt my chin touch the mic. I'm sorry if that disturbed the audio. But anyway, today's video is kind of going to be the same regime as last, same structure. I'm going to be taking dishes out of my dishwasher while I speak to you guys, because I need to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I have a lot of things I need to do today. I need to cook again, and I need to catch myself up on my math homework. I had to withdraw from one of my courses this semester to obviously take care of my dog, but I was able to speak with my professor in my math class this semester about how I could possibly proceed teaching myself from home, and that's what I've been doing for around a month. And I just took my test for our previous unit last week, and it wasn't too much to manage that all on my own. I was kind of a little frantic with am I going to understand the information and everything? But this unit is a little difficult, and I literally dedicated 3 hours of just trying to catch myself up on what I had previously learned yesterday, and I still didn't understand. So, and I have to do more learning because we have to add more sections to the unit 2 more sections. So there's going to be a section today and then a section Monday. And I'm hoping it's not as complex as what we've learned so far, because I don't know how I'm going to like study all this information for the test that's going to be next week. So I keep touching my chin on the mic. I'm so sorry. I need to kind of raise it up. But I think this level is fine. I hope you can hear me all right. Anyways, I need to catch myself up on my math homework. It's kind of requiring a lot more elbow grease than usual, but I hope I can manage it. But the reason I'm making this video is because usually when I do these chores where it's like taking dishes out of my dishwasher, cooking, I typically watch some videos, but I literally don't know what to watch today, so I'm like, might as well just speak and talk to you guys, because my last video did very well. We got like 160, 70 views maybe now. It's still growing. You guys loved it, and I'm so happy that my YouTube analytics are finally taking some mercy on me and recommending my video to some people who are interested. And I'm so glad that people actually watched it, because I got a lot of comments where people were like, hey, I watched this video, I loved it, I enjoyed your content. So I'm so glad to hear that and whatnot. That's so glad. I'm not speaking coherently. Today is not really going to be my best talking day. I hope I can try to speak coherently as I can, but I also hope that somebody watches this video again, because I think maybe last video's analytics were a fluke slightly, because sometimes my YouTube does that, like where it's like you get a lot of good views one day or one post, and then it goes back to like a couple views the next video. But I hope that maybe these kind of like philosophical video titles, content is kind of what's like targeting a certain audience and niche of people. I didn't anticipate for a lot of people to watch my last video because it was almost an hour long, but people watched it. So I guess you guys also like long form content. So I'm not going to be like, I hope I don't speak too much in this video, because I know I am. My channel is called I Didn't Ask for Yappuccino. I feel like I'm a certified yapper, so I'm going to be yapping this video. Anyway, let's get started, because it's already 7 minutes in of me just introducing myself, and it's like, girl, get on with the video. For today's video, I kind of just wanted to talk about a thought I had again in the shower, in the restroom. That's where everything kind of just bubbles up, about figuring out what to do with your life, I guess. I think that's what I'm going to title this video. How do you know what to do with your life? How do you find your passion? How do you just go about figuring out where to go from wherever you are? How do you know your next steps? How do you do what you gotta do to make it in this life? I'm not in the greatest position to give advice, but I think I have some things to say, because I have a bit of a road ahead of me that I've kind of paved, dedicated to what I want to do, what I'm interested in trying out. And so I'm hoping that if anybody's kind of in a situation where they're like, I don't really know what to do, maybe you're freshly graduated out of high school and you're trying to figure out what you want to major in. Maybe you've tried a bunch of majors, tried a bunch of professions, and you're just like, dude, I don't know what to do with my life. Maybe you've been recently laid off of work and you're just like, I don't want to go back to finding another like 9-to-5 job where I get paycheck to paycheck, minimum wage. How can I start something for myself? Because now is probably the best time to do that. But the issue is that everything is super oversaturated right now. Everybody's also trying to do something for themselves, and it's getting harder to really just make it. It really is luck, I would say. But, would you want to be on your deathbed wondering and pondering how your life would have been if you had posted that video, had tried this hobby out, that hobby out? If you don't want to be on your deathbed and wonder, damn it, like maybe I should have just given things a shot, because here I am dying, having a laundry list of regrets of the things that I couldn't do. But it's like, what was I afraid of? And I feel like that's the main thing to target. I feel like what people tend to be afraid of, what I'm afraid of even now, is I think just being perceived. I make these YouTube videos, I think people are going to be over analytical, over critical with how I speak, okay, I'm not entertained by your content. You're not interesting enough. What the advice you have to offer is not, it lacks sustenance to really just make an impact in my life. You're not entertaining. You're this, you're that. Your content is engaging. Your editing isn't, it's not keeping me on the edge of my seat to want to continue watching your video. There's a lot of factors into it. And I think when we try to, and when we let our doubts get to us and we're like, well, what are people going to think, this and that? Like, for example, I'm into writing. Writing is one of my biggest hobbies. But it's something I do. I don't say I'm a professional. I don't say that I'm some sort of Nora Roberts. I'm not trying to say I'm some sort of Stephen King when it comes to my writing and what I put out. Not at all. But it's just something I do, something I've tried out, something that I've come to enjoy. I read my stuff and I'm like, you know what? I feel like I do have something to offer to the table. Maybe that's not what everyone else thinks. I don't know. I don't have that much of an audience for my writing, for people to straight up just tell me like, hey, this is how I think about it. The people that have seen my writing, I think they're just being supportive, like, oh, this is good, blah, blah, blah. But nobody's kind of really viewing my writing in a critical manner, giving me feedback, criticism. And you definitely need that for whatever you're putting out there. And that's how you grow. We hate criticism, we hate feedback, but we do need it if we want for our things to work. So I think that's what a lot of people's fear is. And if I'm being honest, maybe the fear is also that it's too much work and we're not ready to put in that amount of dedication into it. Like, for example, if someone's going to be like super critical with my writing and have a lot of notes, you need to fix this, you need to fix that, I am probably going to be super lazy with that criticism, which is not good, because I probably shouldn't be lazy. I probably should really take my time and sit down and really consider what this feedback has to say. But we tend to be a little like lenient when it comes to feedback, and it's like, well, no. And it requires a lot of work to make something work. And whether our doubts are we're afraid we're not able to be on par with what people expect from us, we're afraid that people are going to judge us and this and that, we're going to be rejected, humiliated, whatever the case may be. If that's what was I even talking about? Again, don't try to expect too much from this video when it comes to like giving advice. Where did I even start from? I guess like people are afraid to go into stuff. Like, okay, if you're gonna try something, don't let your doubts get to you, I guess. I don't know. I could have summarized that a little better, but we need to get back on topic. I need to get back on topic with what I was talking about how figuring out what you want to do. Oh, okay. Did I mention people are afraid to give their hobbies a chance, what they're interested in a chance, because they're afraid to be rejected. They're afraid it's not going to work after all the hard work they put into it. I don't know where I was going with that, but let's get back to the point of this video. So wherever you are in life and you're just kind of considering, what do I do with my life? Where do I go from here? I feel like the way society is structured, kind of how to go about our life. You need to find an occupation. You need to find some sort of job, because how else are you going to feed yourself, have a roof over your head? You need to have something, unfortunately. Yeah, that's just how society is structured. That's how life is structured. And I think lots of people question, do I go for what I'm passionate about, or should I go for something that will offer me stability? It's a very difficult question. I think that's something all of us will have to face. For the lucky ones, their passion will be something that gives them stability. Like, let's say you're an actor and you're very talented and you make it in this industry, you make it into Hollywood or whatever, and obviously that stability is promised for you. So it's very rare that something like that happens, but it's not impossible. And if that's what your dreams are, go for it. But sometimes people just don't have a passion, or maybe they don't know they have a passion. And that's where I want to kind of offer my perspective, what I went through and how I stumbled upon writing. Do I really think that writing is like for me? I don't know. I will get more into that if I can, if I sound coherent. I'm running out of breath once again, like I did in my last video. Let's just take things slow, take things easy. I'm trying to sputter too much out. I don't even know if what I'm saying is making sense. I think I'm too preoccupied with my task at hand. But come on now, like let's multitask here. So I would say high school is where things started really taking a shift. All my life, if I'm being honest, I'm gonna get very vulnerable here. I actually did want to be an actor. But again, sorry, my chin just touched the mic. But why did I want to be an actor? The glitz and glam, red carpet, money. It wasn't really for the craft itself. I just kind of went about my life like, oh, my acting dreams will land into my lap somehow. I was delusional. I don't have to work. I don't have to go to acting classes. I don't need to be a part of this theater program. I'm going to be an actress. The world revolves around me and everything is going to be fine. That's kind of literally how I thought. I was delusional. What can I say? And it wasn't until I guess I started being religious. I'm no longer religious, but when I was like earlier in my teenage years, I definitely was. I actually recently got out of religion that's a whole can of worms that I'm not going to get into today. But when I was religious, like, no, I wasn't too religious, but I definitely was a little bit like of a like kind of a police about a lot of things that were like sinful. And I noticed that in a lot of acting, in a lot of movies, there was a lot of portrayal of inappropriate stuff. You know what I mean? And I really thought to myself, if I'm going to be in this industry, I'm most likely going to have to do those inappropriate things. But does that align with my identity with this religion? Am I allowed to do those things according to my religion? Obviously not. And it was something I really took like a toll on. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't be an actor because it doesn't align with my religion. This is a sin according to my religion. I can't do it. And I gave up that dream because I was like, I can't do it. It's impossible. Nobody's going to like there would be a way that I could be an actor. Like I could star in movies that aren't inappropriate, but again, what are the likeliness? I feel like every movie that's come out, like any movie that's rolling out, period, has some sort of like inappropriate stuff that actors do need to commit to. So imagine just being like, no, I'm not going to star in inappropriate movies. Like, that's just, you can't set that standard and expect people to take you in. Like, especially since I didn't have the talent too. So like, not only did I not have the talent, I was setting these huge standards to be like, oh, if you want me to star in a movie, there can't be anything inappropriate. Like, that's not going to work. And I really thought to myself, like, this is not going to work. I've been delusional all these years thinking that this acting dream would just suddenly land in my lap and everybody would bend over to just accommodate whatever my standards were, you know what I mean? That's just not how it works, you know? So I gave up that dream, right? It was, I don't know when it was, but I didn't really even do much to like get into acting. I wouldn't like search up scripts, try to memorize them, try to perform them. And I remember when I did try to do that, I hated it. Which just goes to show, again, I never wanted to be an actor. I just wanted the glitz and glam of Hollywood life. I wasn't ready to put in that work. And the more I like watch actors' like journey to becoming actors, where it's like, I was a part of theater, I did this, you have to learn about like stage directions, blah, 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 memorizing, this and that. The more I learn about that, the more I'm so disinterested. And it just further goes to show that I never wanted to be an actor in the first place. I never truly wanted to be an actor for acting purposes, you know, to perform and do good. I just thought it would naturally come to me and that I'd naturally love it, but it was truly just not aligned with my interests. And I hadn't known that at the time. Again, it was something I just fed to myself, something I would fantasize about, being a celebrity. Not that I still don't fantasize about that, maybe in a different way, but I really truly thought to myself that I was going to be an actress and like the next A-list, blah, blah, blah. Which again, first of all, look at me. Do I look like someone that could be an actor? Absolutely not. But not to mention I didn't have the talent. I mentioned in my last video, I was a part of acting class for a performing arts credit in high school. And then when I had given up my acting dream, senior year of high school, I was put in an improv class because they didn't have any other space to put me in a different extracurricular. So I had to choose improv, and I hated it. I was filled in a class with a bunch of freshmen as a senior. That was literally my entire high school experience, just being filled in classes with a bunch of people who were younger than me, and I felt like a grandma. There he is. I think he doesn't like it when I'm speaking, but what's he gonna do? What's wrong, baby? Anyways, what was I trying to say? Like my entire high school, I'm still filled in a class with a bunch of people who are younger than me. I don't know what the universe is trying to teach me with like, okay, I get it, I'm behind. Relax. Like, you don't need to shove it in my face any longer. But again, like, do I really think I'm behind deep down? No. Even if that's what my surroundings tell me, I don't care. And again, I was in my acting class, high school, and I had to obviously memorize scripts and perform them in front of people. First of all, I'm so shy. I have terrible stage fright, and it would take so much for me to memorize my lines. I'm like, shit, like if I'm gonna get into this industry, I'm probably gonna last 2 seconds. Nobody's gonna hire my ass because I can't memorize these damn lines. And I remember I had to do a group project. We were on stage and everything, and then I freaking forget my lines at the stage, and I'm literally just like giving everybody that lead paint stare in the audience, being like, shit, like remember. I eventually remember my line, and I continue on, and I remember finishing that scene or whatever, finishing that project, just walking out of stage and being like, oh my gosh, I am so not cut out for this. It happened many more times. And when there were times where I could like not have to memorize stuff because I had to go on a field trip or whatever the case may be, maybe there was like a theater production that interfered with classes, so the class would be stopped so that they can do their theater stuff. I was so relieved. I was like, yes, they don't have to memorize anything. But again, I came to that realization, not only can your girl not act, I can't memorize lines, I don't like stage directions, I don't like this. I really understood that the only reason I am into acting is because I just want the money, I want the glitz and glam, I want the amazing makeup, the lights, camera, action, paparazzi. That's all I wanted. I just wanted the celebrity life. I didn't want to truly be an actor. And that's honestly a hard realization to swallow, a hard pill to swallow, because again, it was something I had deluded myself to for so long. Ever since I was young, I was like, I'm gonna be an actor. Like, what you gonna do about it? But yeah, truly, if you're in a space like me where you're like, it's gonna come to me, it's gonna come, shut up, it's gonna happen. I hate to break it to you, but you need to be pragmatic and you need to take reality for what it is. And something that's just gonna come with age, honestly. I feel like you'll only tend to come to that realization older as you realize that life is terrible. The more you realize life is just not customizable, you know? It's not a game where you can just do what you want, make the choices you want. It's not a movie where you're the main character and everything unfolds the way you want to. I mean, it definitely can. I'm not trying to paint life in this grim light where it's like none of your dreams will come true. Absolutely not. Like, your dreams, what you want in this life will come true, but it's not as easy as it sounds. It's not a genie in a bottle where it's just going to miraculously make its way in your lap. You have to work for it. You have to be patient. And that is something I feel like you will only realize when you're older. So once I had given up my acting dream, or I was like, again, my family, we their minimum wage, it's a minimum wage household. We don't necessarily have the funds to be like, here, go to an acting school. My dad, honestly, like, he knew how much I was into acting, how much I wanted to be an actor, and he tried to like find acting classes that I could take. They were all too expensive, and we just didn't have the funds to be like, here, go do this. And I truly like observed my classmates in school. They were always a part of something, whether it was theater programs in school, but I had issues with transportation, so I couldn't stay further at school, or like join clubs. Again, I had issues with transportation. I couldn't like be driven to and from wherever I needed to go because I didn't have transportation. Like the only driver in the house is my dad. I still don't have a license. Like, again, we don't have the funds to just take me to a driving class. My dad would teach himself, but he tried. It didn't work, and he wants for it to be more professional because he didn't really learn professionally. He kind of just learned a long time ago, you know. And he's also like, when it comes to teaching, he's not the best. He's a little bit more like just get it, blah blah blah. And so that's why he wants to wait until we find like a teacher, a more affordable option. But again, like, right now is the worst time to hope for that because things are just too expensive. And we have other things to tend to, like my dog or other bills or whatever. So we can't be like, okay, let's just wait till we find someone that can help you drive. Like, that's just not gonna help how it works. So yeah, like that interfered. It just kind of felt like there was obstacle after obstacle when it came to like wanting to be a part of extracurriculars and stuff. So, you know, I couldn't join extracurriculars outside of school and stuff because, again, those cost money and we didn't have that money. So the only way that I feel like I really could have, like, again, pursued acting is if I had searched up monologues online, practiced memorizing it, watching acting videos on YouTube, their advice, watching a lot of movies and studying how actors act. Like, there really is a way you can do it at home. You don't need classes. You don't need to be a part of school if that doesn't work for you. If there's like something that's in your way, do what you can with what you have. And I didn't do that. I didn't go out of my way to memorize lines. I did it once and I hated it again. I was like, I'm probably not going to do this again. But, you know, again, I wasn't truly passionate about acting to go out of my way and do those things. Sorry, I just bumped my chin again. I'm going to keep apologizing for that for a while. Anyways, so once I had really kind of parted ways with this acting dream, I just was like, dude, what the heck am I going to do with my life? I'm not crazy smart to go into something crazy. Like, I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to be a lawyer because I'm not academic that way. I'm not passionate about academics. I can tell you that right off the bat. Academics are just, it's not gonna, just don't count on it. I'm not some Einstein to get us out of the trenches by being a doctor or something like that. So I was like, what am I gonna do with my life? Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to major in. For a while, I parted ways with my acting dream, wanted to be a fashion designer. My parents bought me a sewing machine. Again, it was too hard, dropped it. Like, I conceptually think like, oh, fashion designing, like dresses, this and that. Again, once you give me a paper and you're like, hey, design this dress. Hey, do, I don't know what they're called. They're called like folds, scenes, I think sets. Whatever it is where it's like you really have to draw out the measurements, do the math to like make a shirt, for example, right? And then I remember I would search up like how to sew a shirt on YouTube, try to follow the tutorial and be like, this is so complicated, and like just give up, you know? When things were just getting too complicated and I was just like not interested in it, I was like, okay, I'm done. Because again, conceptually, I thought to myself like, yeah, like it'll be fine. Like I'll find a way to be a fashion designer. Again, like I was just really just daydreaming and fantasizing that things would somehow work out without putting in that work. And again, I parted ways with that dream once I was like, yeah, like this is just not cut out for me. I don't know how to do it. I'm not that interested in putting in the work to do it. Bye. It's done. So once I parted ways with all those dreams, I remember in high school, I would just come back from school. I finished all my homework. There wasn't really anything else I needed to do, and I would just scroll on my phone. I would just be on TikTok scrolling. watching people's amazing lives and just being like, what the hell am I doing wrong? Why are things just so bleak? And why is it like I can't do anything? Like even if I wanted to try a new hobby, it's like, where would I get that from? What would I do? And yeah, I would just scroll on my phone, watch YouTube, watch shows, and be like, I don't know what to do with my life. But do I really need to figure that out right now? No, I'm still in high school. I can just chill for the moment, for the time being, and let that be my life. I remember picking up knitting, not yarning. What is yarning? I picked up knitting when my mom and me went to like a random store near our neighborhood, and they had like this small little knitting kit, and I'm like, how hard could it be? And I actually picked it up. I was really into knitting, but I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna knit. I usually just kind of knitted strips, and I could like make a scarf out of it. But I live in a hot state, so it's like, why do I need this scarf? I remember making a hat for my dad, but it wasn't gonna work. If you truly want to make knitting work, you have to have like the knit that's like a loop attached to the two needles, because if it's just two needles without that loop, you can't like knit a sweater. It's not gonna work. So I was like, okay, what else can I get into that's very adjacent to knitting? Because I think I got it down. Like I want to pursue this a little bit more, because I do kind of like it. I do like making creations. I do like how it's kind of like I see my creation come to life. And so I started to get into crocheting, and I still crochet to this day. I took a little break from it for a while because I was like, I don't know what to crochet, and I had so many other things to do, like school, trying to figure out what college I wanted to go to. It was like that time of my life. And even now, like I didn't start getting to crocheting until a little bit longer because I was just doing a bunch of other things, like with my writing, with school, and just managing that. I was like, I don't have time to crochet. But now I've recently crocheted a purse, a bag. It's in the works. I'm trying to make the flap for it that closes the crocheting bag. If I do take a picture, here it is, and to show you guys. But I remember searching up crocheting videos, beginner crocheting videos, and I couldn't get down the. So basically, you have like a needle, right? And then you have to have some sort of tension when you crochet your creation with that yarn that's connected to, like, I don't know how to describe it, but you need to have some sort of tension, and it does require a bit of balance with like your hands and kind of like figuring out how to like create that balance, I guess. Like, think of it as kind of like trying to find that balance when you ride a bike. I struggled with that a bit, and I really just kind of like was frustrated and put down crochet. I'm like, I'm never gonna do this. Picked it back up again, took the time to really like try to find out the tension. It's the hardest part, I would say, of crocheting, and it is disheartening when you can't get it right. But once you get it right, again, it's like riding a bike. You're never gonna stop finding that tension in your hand to hold the yarn correctly to crochet. So I got into crocheting, but it was kind of like a side thing. I really didn't view it as like, oh, I'm gonna start a crocheting business. And even if I wanted to make a crocheting business like now, I would need money, obviously, to kickstart the business, buy crocheted stuff, market my work so that people could be interested in buying my stuff. I remember trying to do it in high school because I was like, let me just make a little bit of money. Like, why not? Nobody wanted my stuff. And also, I didn't have enough friends to be like, hey, tell this person to let me crochet this, let me crochet. I told my friends, like, hey, do you want me to crochet you something? Pay me $15, I'll crochet you a bucket hat. And I remember one friend said, like, yeah, do it. I bought the yarn for them. It was white and gray. And I was like, here's the bucket hat. Hope you love it. I don't think they liked it. I think they just lied about liking it. They never gave me the money that it was worth. So, yeah. I was like, dude, they low-key scammed me. But, like, I was kind of shoving it down all my peers' throat, like, let me crochet something for you. Like, I just need the money. Like, relax. I needed to find a different approach. And again, if I wanted to have, like, a real crocheting business, I would need to market myself so that I had customers, open an Etsy shop, again, market myself. You need money to market yourself and really have people be like, why should I buy from you compared to all the other crocheting businesses that are out there? So I never viewed crocheting in a monetary manner, like slightly side hustly, But again, I was like, not gonna be like, I'm gonna be a crocheter for my career. That's my passion. Right now, it's just a hobby. I'm just kind of doing it for myself. Yeah. But anyway, that aside, I want to tell you guys how I stumbled into writing and how it's kind of just what's been sticking with me so far. When I was kind of in my flunk of not really knowing what to do with my life, my mom brought home a stack of books. I was like, I'm not academic, but reading is important, and if I don't start now, I'm going to regret having a low stamina, comprehension. Like, it's very important to read. A lot of our, I think the way we speech right now, it really is very telling if someone has a huge vocabulary to like explain certain things. The way they speak is coherent. Like, even now, I'm a writer and I do reading on the side. I'm not a writer, I do writing and reading on the side, and even now I can't even like, I'm not super like amazing when it comes to my speech, but it does make a huge impact. So I was like, I might as well get into reading. And I remember choosing the ugliest book cover from the stack because I was like, you know what, I do judge a book by its cover. I'm sorry for this weird angle, I'm reaching over to put something down. But anyways, so I was like, okay, let me get into reading this. And I remember struggling so much with getting through the prologue. I was like, I'm not comprehending any of this. Why is it so difficult to read? But once I cracked into that book that was the ugliest stack from the covers, I was really into reading. And even now, like, I've just finished finished 2 books this year, and I'm almost finishing a 3rd book. It's not hitting the same way that book that I read at that time in my life did. And I don't think it will. Like, it really is just like a unique experience where it's like, oh, this chosen book, it might not be the best written book in the world, might not be the best story in the world, but for some reason it changed my life. I remember finishing that book on New Year's Eve. I specifically remember because I was volunteering at a museum, and I was like, when can I leave my volunteering shift so I can go home and read my book? And I remember being like, I'm probably only going to read a couple pages. I still have a lot left. And I finished all of it that day. And it truly inspired me to be like, you know what? I do have a thought in my mind about a certain something. Should I maybe write it? Again, it was influenced by a lot of things. I started getting into reading webtoon that year too. And I was like, you know, it doesn't really seem like rocket science to just sit down and write something for whatever reason. And I also had to write a few scripts for my acting class again. It was that year. How old was I? I think I was 15, 16 years old. I'm 19 now, so it's been a couple years since I've been really sticking to this passion and pursuit. I do feel a little bit like uncertain about it, my skills with it. Sometimes it does feel like a chore to write on a day-to-day basis, and I'm not as like motivated. Sometimes it kind of just feels like an assignment. Sometimes it just kind of feels like homework. So I do have like uncertainties with it, but it's just what I'm doing so far, what I'm sticking with so far, just so that I have a hobby, you know, in my life to use my time with. But I'll get more into that later if I can. Where was I going? So yeah, it was influenced by a lot of things for me to be like, let me just write. But the book really kind of was like, hey, like, what if you just wrote something? What if you did something for your own? So I really like sat down. Let me restructure my thoughts. I really sat down and just started writing whatever came to mind. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't crazy or anything. I was just like, I'm just gonna write just to write because it's fun to have something come to life and really put pen to paper about the thoughts circulating around your mind. So I was like, might as well give it a shot. I don't have any expectations. I don't think I'm going to be this crazy writer or whatever. I don't even think this is a hobby that's going to stick with me. I just kind of did it because I did it, And I remember writing like 11 chapters or so of the work I'm currently working on right now. I'm still not finished with it 3 years later because I've had to re-edit it so many times. And I think that's maybe why I'm a little bit uncertain with this hobby right now, because it's like I'm continuously refining something that I've been working on for the past couple of years, and I just want it to be finished so I can work on other things, other stories that I'm interested in. So maybe that's kind of why I'm in a little bit of a flunk, but if that's even the correct word to describe my situation. But, you know, I was like, I wrote 11 chapters. 11 is like the number that comes to mind. Set it to the side and just continued my life as normal, scrolling on my phone every day. I came back from school, crocheting. I also remember that was the year I started getting to watching anime. This is so random, but I just kind of like tried a bunch of stuff and kind of really figured out how to like occupy my time, entertain myself so that I felt happy instead of just like, I don't know what to do with my life, especially since I remember this goes hand in hand with my last video. I remember going to school, and I went to school right after like the pandemic situation was going on. So I remember my family and I moved again to like a new place, and I was like, I hope to make some friends. This is high school we're talking about, like all those movies where people like have these cool high school experiences. Like I'm expecting to go to prom, I'm expecting to go to homecoming and stuff. So I really want some friends, and that didn't really work out either. I tried to put myself out there. Not really though, I kind of just expected for someone to approach me, but I thought like, you know, this is high school, everybody's very social. Wouldn't someone approach me by now? But the only time I really talked to people was like group projects, like when it was necessary. I did have a group of friends that I spoke to at lunch, and I talked more about that in my last video, but it wasn't as like, oh hey, like I didn't think I would be popular in school, but I did think like, okay, we're gonna have a solid friend group, hopefully. That didn't happen. I'm still in the frame, guys. Can you see me? Just putting dishes away. You know, like I thought like something would uprise from that stuff, but nothing really happened. So I was like, how do I occupy my time so that I'm not lonely forever and stuff? I need to do something, you know? So yeah, that's how I occupied my time. I did a bit of writing every now and then, did a bit of crocheting, watching anime, reading webtoons, reading, and that is kind of how my resurgence for my writing passion kind of came about. Again, I don't know if I mentioned this in my last videos, but I read a webtoon that was so bad, and I was like, you know what, this is really a sign for me to step into this field and really give what I have a chance, because it's not that I would try to say that I could write something better, but I was like, dude, if this was bad and it was adapted, what if my stuff is bad and I adapt it too into something? And that's really when I started taking my writing seriously and wanted to continue branching, just growing this project that I had going on that spurred from the book that I had read. So yeah, I think the moral of this story that I've figured out from myself, let me know if you can see my dog. He has very judgmental eyes. Anytime I try to speak and do something, I feel so judged, because it's like, why are you side-eyeing the heck out of me? But I think the moral of the story is that I can't multitask because I'm so out of breath for some reason, and I can definitely feel my throat feeling a little scratchy from speaking too much. I really just don't think I can align my thoughts coherently when I'm busy with something. So next time I make these videos, okay, like I've learned the lesson that I really just need to sit down and speak with you guys like this. So let me try to wrap up what I was trying to say in those previous 40 minutes of talking. The phrase success comes when you least expect it, I feel like is super true. And I didn't realize it until, you know, I had, you know, randomly my mother brought back a stack of books, and I didn't know that one of those books would spur me into finding this passion of mine. So if you're in a, I don't know if any of what I'm saying is even advice. I hope that we can start getting into that part now in this section of the video. Try a lot of things. Try reading. I tried reading because I was like, you know, it's important to read. Like, I may not be academic, but I need to have something. So let reading be my thing. And it was difficult. Again, I remember struggling reading, trying to comprehend that epilogue page, because I was so like far behind from not reading before. Because I feel like reading is a little difficult. They do tend to force it down your throat when you're like in school, like, let's read as a class, you need to read this for an assignment, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. So I feel like people don't really branch out to read on their free time because it kind of is on par with like academic work. But, give it a shot. I truly think that if you're not into reading, get into reading. Like, that is one of my biggest advices, because you really do get lost in a book, especially if it's the first book you pick up after a while. It really sticks with you. So, if I hadn't gotten into reading, I didn't know what to expect from reading. I didn't expect for it to open this door of this new hobby that I've come to really love and come to really dedicate a lot of my time to. So I would say try a couple things. I saw a crocheting kit at the store and was like, not crocheting kit, I saw a knitting kit at the store and was like, let me give it a shot. Maybe next time you go to the store you see a sketchbook and you're like, maybe I should get into drawing. And maybe you watch a couple videos on YouTube, get into drawing, and you're like, you know what, this isn't really for me, I actually hate it. That's fine. It's okay to have things that you try and you hate. Again, I thought that I would love sewing and that I could make fashion designing my my career. I'm getting mixed up. And then I tried sewing. I hated the process. I thought it was too complicated and I just gave it up. And I never really had that drive to continue and try it again. So it's really disheartening to just continue trying and trying something and then you're just like, but nothing really sticks for me. I tend to throw things out and give up easily because it's just too difficult, it's just too that, whatever the case may be. So you can start small, whether it's just reading. There's so many people that have made social media platforms where they review books, they recommend stuff if you're into this book, if you're into this certain genre, and they have good criticism. If you're into watching movies, into consuming shows, recommend some shows. You can make that a platform. And I know people are like, well, I don't want to put myself out there. I don't want to have a social media platform. Like, why is everything influencer based for me to make it in life? What if I don't want to show my face to the world, have a content, have a platform that I have to manage? Because it's easier said than done. It's very stressful. Why do I have to put myself out there? Why can't I just go about other means? I honestly don't know the answer to that question because, again, I feel like I'm kind of viewing it from a monetary lens. It's like, well, how can you make your passion something that you do for a living? And I feel like the only solution an answer that I can come up with right now is kind of being an influencer in a sense. Like, if you're into watching movies, you can do reaction. You can open a YouTube channel where you do reaction videos. Maybe you have a really critical eye and can be like, oh, I liked the way this scene is framed. If you viewers didn't understand it, basically this is a symbolism of something further down the line. It foreshadows. Like, maybe you have that kind of eye, very, very critical. Like, people love watching that stuff and people will really tune into that stuff and be like, oh, I'm set. Like, oh, you're so interesting. I didn't notice things that way. And then maybe they watch a movie and they're like, oh, now I notice certain things. And it's like, I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't watched you and I hadn't learned that from you. Maybe that's how you can make a living for yourself. But again, I don't know the answer to if you don't want to put yourself out there, because it kind of seems like that's the only way to really make it in life. And for my case, I just make YouTube videos again because I'm doing something to push my dog's story out there, and because if you guys go to my YouTube channel, my platform, see the content that I've been posting, I've just been posting about really anything. I'm not expecting to become this like crazy YouTuber where I'm the next, like, I don't know, Mr. Beast, but that would be great if that could happen. I don't think it'll happen because my content isn't nearly as like on par with all that stuff, but I don't know what it was that really made me want to start a YouTube channel where I just say my thoughts or whatever, but I think I just kind of needed a platform where I could just release a bunch of thoughts that flourish in thoughts that swirl in my head, and YouTube was the place where I can just kind of push that stuff out there, and that's what I'm doing right now. Again, I feel like today was not the best day to film because I'm not really in a talkative sphere, but I felt like turning on the camera and speaking and doing this video anyways. So just do it. Like, there's not like much behind that intention besides I just want to turn on my phone and make a YouTube video. Like, that's just kind of how it is. So yeah, like, try a couple things. Maybe you also want to turn on the camera and be like, hey, like, let me just say my thoughts. Maybe someone really wants to sit down and watch that stuff, and maybe I can make a living out of it. Who knows? Like, you're really, like, the trajectory of your life can really change in an instant. And it could be from reading a book, it could be from watching a movie, it could be from really anything. Like maybe eating a food where you're like, wow, this is so sensational. You could really turn anything into anything nowadays. And whether or not you want to make that what puts food on the table or provides shelter over your head, or if that's something you want to keep to the side and do on the side while you pursue something else, because that's kind of my situation right now. I feel like, given the circumstances of what's going on in this world, it really is difficult to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to pursue my hobby and hope that works. Because for me, I'm pursuing my hobby because I know I can do it on the side. I'm doing YouTube, I'm doing drawing, which I'm not even good at. I'm giving it a shot. I'm doing drawing, I'm doing crocheting, I'm doing writing, which is like my main thing. I'm doing a lot of writing and trying to promote that on my social media. I know I can do that on the side while I juggle some other things. So my plan A is writing and trying to make that my career. I will be, chasing that dream for my entire life because it's something I truly feel like I can offer to the table. But in terms of kind of having a plan B, again, I don't know if I should advocate necessarily for you to have a plan B, because I feel like people have this kind of like, isn't there like a saying where it's like, oh, a plan B means that you were never really dedicated about plan A to begin with. But I feel like, given the circumstances of the world, you kind of can't really have plan A and be like, let me just cross my fingers and hope plan A makes it, because life throws out you a bunch of stuff and you kind of need to find a way to pick yourself back up. So again, I don't know if I mentioned this in my last video, but if you're a new viewer, I am studying industrial engineering. Again, you're probably shocked. It's like, why engineering when you said you were into writing? Would it the natural thing be to go into writing? Yes, but I looked into writing careers, writing professions like copywriting. I did an internship myself of writing where I wrote about adoption, and I was like making writing my career, where it's like something that I have to rely on to give me money and put food on the table, have shelter. Like it really is what's kind of fueling my survival. It's not going to work because my passion is going to be sucked out of me. Again, like right now when it comes to writing, it is slightly a bit of a chore, slightly a bit homeworky, assignmenty, but my internship was even more homeworky and assignmenty, and I wasn't getting paid. It was a free internship. Why would I get paid? Like, I'm not some crazy person to get paid for my writing, especially since I don't have a degree behind myself. But I was just doing it to get experience. And yeah, like maybe to find out what your passion is, maybe you also want to apply to internships. If you get paid, that's amazing, but I can guarantee that you probably won't, but it's still worth considering if you have the free time to try it out, and maybe you find out that it's not going to work for you, because that is truly what I found out going into this internship. I was like, maybe I can go into writing after all, but no, like that internship proved that like making this my career is just not going to work. It's better to keep it as a hobby, because when it's a hobby, it comes with passion, it comes with enthusiasm and excitement. But when you make it like your main career, it's going to make it sorry when you make it your main career, it's going to kind of take the fun out of it. So consider that if you're trying to figure out like what to do with your life. And why did I go into engineering? Obviously because it's something that has stability. I feel like nowadays lots of people who are like art related degree and STEM related kind of are bumping heads right now, because it's like STEM people are trying to say that art people can't make their life into something that's like, gonna give them stability. But now art people are trying to tell STEM people that, well, the world is crazy right now and you're probably not going to get employed after you finish your degree, because freaking Harvard graduates with PhDs are becoming like baristas because nobody wants to hire even them. So what makes you think like things are crazy right now? But that's just kind of like where I am right now. And I know that because, throughout life when I was in school, like sure, I didn't love math and science, but I needed to do it because that's just how school works. You need to complete classes that you don't love, do tests that you aren't passionate about. Like, you just need to do those things. So I was like, this is going to work for me. Like, my entire life I did math and science. Did I love it? No, but I was able to manage it. And I think that choosing industrial engineering, like, it's very specific. It's not mechanical engineering, it's not electrical engineering, because I know that wouldn't work for me. I chose industrial engineering because from all the classes that I saw, it seemed like the classes like in my major, it seemed like, okay, this is actually manageable. I can get through this. I can do this. Because again, I throughout my high school, throughout whatever, I did math and science. Did I hate it? Did I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. I can get through it for 4 more years to finish a degree and get a job from it. That's fine. That's kind of how I work. Like, I need something where it's like, okay, let me just do it by the book, I guess you could say, but also like do something to the side that's not by the book. So if you want to structure your life that way, consider it. It's what's been working for me. It did take a lot of trial and error to be like, this is how I want to go about my life, and I do feel like this route is right for me. Maybe it won't. Only time will tell. The future holds a lot of possibilities. I don't know how things will end up. Maybe I might finish my industrial engineering degree and be like, I can't get employed. Nobody wants to hire me, blah, blah, blah. My writing is not really getting anywhere. I have no idea what could happen in the future. And you have to brace yourself for the worst. You have to brace yourself for, I wouldn't want to say failure, but just not success. Unsuccess. Is that even a word? I have no idea. But life is just kind of like that. Like, maybe writing is a phase right now and what I'm into, and maybe it's just, okay, well, I've been doing it for a couple of years, but maybe I've been doing it for a couple of years and then I'll also throw it to the side like I did with acting and fashion designing and whatever the case may be. I have no idea how I might grow as a person. And yeah, like, you just grow as a person and our interests change. What we can tackle, what we can manage changes. And you just need to try a bunch of things. It is unfortunate to hear this, but you do need to try a bunch of things, because it's like, dude, I don't have the energy, I don't have the motivation to try a bunch of things and figure out which works for me, which doesn't. But that is truly, I feel like, the only way to really see what works for you. But if you're kind of trying to figure out like where to start, because you need to take baby steps. Don't like try to be like, okay, I need to figure things out right away, blah, 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 blah. No, take baby steps. If you're not in the headspace to go to school, maybe consider taking a gap year where you can dedicate this entire year to doing internships, trying a bunch of hobbies. Maybe you also want to start a YouTube channel, a social media platform where you talk about this. Maybe start a social media platform and talk about how you don't like the way society kind of structured our lives around, you have to have a passion, you have to make that your career, blah, blah, blah. People are on the same page as you. People have those same thoughts. Maybe you can phrase it in an eloquent manner, and maybe you can start a podcast, and maybe you can make that your career. Like, the possibilities are endless, and it all starts from with you trying and you giving an attempt. And I know that's super difficult when you're in a headspace where it's like, oh my gosh, I've tried so many things, I don't have it in me to try again. I'm not that type of person. Like, I'm completely defeated. I have no energy. I don't have the motivation, no inspiration to just try again. I'm really just hoping and praying for a miracle, whatnot. But unfortunately, you need to get back on your feet and try again. That's easier said than done. And I don't know what you're going through right now to be like, just say it super easily and be like, just get back on your feet. It's really that easily, but it's really that easy. It requires a lot of discipline. It requires patience. And if you need to take baby steps, if you need to take time to really situate yourself again and really get back on your feet and be like, okay, I'm ready to try again this, I'm ready to try again that. Maybe you need to consider your mental first. Maybe you need to sort that out. Maybe that's where you start. Maybe you're like, okay, I need to seek medical help with my mental health, this and that, whatever the situation may be, but you're like, okay, I don't have the money. You can start by applying to jobs, seeing if you can go this, go that, some sort of side hustle where it's like, okay, you can start to accumulate money to seek medical help, mental help. Or maybe throughout that job you find some friends and you can lean on them for support and know what to do with your life. Like, we aren't meant to go about our lives like these lone wolves. We're meant to lean on people. We're meant to say, our thoughts and kind of where we are, and they're supposed to support us. And I hope that anybody watching this video has a supportive group they can lean on and have support that they can just like take everything out. But if you don't, again, me, I don't mind being on camera. I don't mind having a YouTube channel. This is how I kind of get that stuff out there, and it really does help situate my head. It really helps organize stuff. It makes me feel productive. It makes me feel like I'm making a difference in this world, even if what I'm saying is not coherent. Like, I hope that makes sense. But if you're struggling to like try to find where to start from, just try to figure out what you like. There has to be something. Again, do you like watching movies? Do you like watching YouTube videos? Me, my entire childhood, I was practically raised on YouTube. And there's literally videos on my old iPad where I'm like, subscribe, like, blah, blah, blah. I kind of always had this affinity for YouTube, and I didn't know that it would circle back to me this way. And now I'm making content. I may not be, again, Mr. Beast or someone crazy, but I'm making videos, and I'm proud of myself for that. And I'm not, anticipating to become this crazy YouTuber, blah, blah, blah. I'm just kind of doing it just to do it. And if that's how you want to do it, go ahead. If you're doing things just to do it, you don't need to turn it into a monetary thing where it's like, okay, now I have to overwork myself, blah, blah, blah. Because we've seen time and time again how that's just ended terribly. So really take things easy, take baby steps. Again, figure out what you like to do on your free time. Do you like to read webtoons like me? Not that I'm saying, okay, you like to read webtoons, make a webtoon. No. Like, personally, me, I tried, but I don't have the artistic skills, and it takes a lot of time, and you need a team to really like storyboard this, storyboard that. It's a lot of work that you might not be able to tell right off the bat, but it really is a lot of work. So it's like, maybe you like reading webtoons, but maybe you can make a platform where you can review webtoons or talk about a story. Like, people love watching video essays about books, about shows, about movies. Maybe you can make a video essay dedicated to webtoons and summarizing stories. Maybe you're into certain time periods. Maybe you like teaching people about like historical stuff. Like, a thought I had in my head was, why don't people make videos about like old Hollywood stuff? Like, okay, Marilyn Monroe, what happened to her? Audrey Hepburn, like, what was her entire life about? And why don't people like deliver it in an engaging manner? Why is nobody really doing that? So maybe you yourself are also interested, like, who was Marilyn Monroe? Maybe I can do research about her and make that into content. Like, people would really sit down and watch that. I know I would. Like, that's something I would love to see, but I'm probably not going to do research because I'm not really good at researching. But maybe there's someone else out there who's really into researching and really into teaching people and stuff. So you'll never really figure it out until you try. So again, start small. I keep saying this. I don't know how many times I've repeated it, but I think you get the point. Start small. If you're into art, maybe look into art. Maybe you can be an art critic. If you're into food, I'm pretty sure you guys know about Mark Wiens, this YouTuber. He's a professional eater, and you watch his videos and it's like he gives historical information of like how these foods are cultivated, like the culture it surrounds. His production is like really good, and his delivery, his enthusiasm, you can tell it's something that he really loves. He's really passionate about food, and he shows the creation of making the food. He shows his reaction, and you can tell his like that authenticity is like, it permeates through the screen, and that's what people really sit down and watch him for. And who would have thunk, like, so many years down the line, that if you told, like, I don't know, someone from the 1980s that you can make a career out of eating, they'd probably fall into a coma, So as the world advances, there's going to be more outlets where you can find your passion and whatnot. So I truly hope that whoever clicks on this video, I hope that what I said is helpful. Again, I'm actually in need of advice when it comes to like being passionate about stuff, because you guys heard about how I'm kind of in an iffy state, but I'm kind of just going with the flow of things and just continuing despite my uncertainties. And that's also really important. You need to kind of discipline yourself. That way you're not going to have motivation all the time to do what you want to do, but you still kind of need to do it, because that's how you make progress. Because progress is better than perfection. Having something done is better than it being perfect. And that's kind of just what I've really learned this year, just to accept that things are the way they are, and I am not some sort of certified crazy person to really write something exceptional, but I do write despite. Anyways, I need to do a lot of things. I hope that what I said was engaging enough, and I hope that you enjoyed watching it again. I hope somebody watches this video. And again, please view my description. I'm not even speaking coherently at this point. View my description down below if you're interested in wanting to know more about my dog's condition, how you can contribute, if you want to donate $1, a cent, share with your friends our situation, that would be greatly appreciated. I did apply to a couple of jobs, so I'm hoping to hear back so that I can also fund my dog's medication. But I'm probably gonna need to post like a neighborhood community thing where it's like a babysitter on the weekend. I don't know. I need to consider that because I need to take things into my matters into my own hands, because we haven't really received a donation in a while. Which again, the world is crazy. Times are hard. I'm not trying to be like, help me. Like, dude, everybody needs help right now. But the situation is crazy. I have a document of petitions down below. If there are any ways you guys know that I could continue advocating for the injustices occurring in this world, please let me know. I am trying my best to, figure that out, because that truly contributes to even topics like this where it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know my passion. It really stems from just the injustices that are occurring in this world. So if you guys know in ways in which I could continue contributing to that, voicing my opinion, and just being on the right side of history, being ethical, being morally, following my morals, having a moral compass where it's like, stand up for these people that are, what I think you get what I mean. I'm not really sounding coherent. My throat hurts like crazy. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Next video, I did not mean to hit my mic. Next video is next video. I'll see how that goes. Maybe I have another topic that I'm interested in sharing and having a little sit-down conversation where we talk like this. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. See you later. Bye.